I don't want to assume you don't know that this month we mark the 46th anniversary of the June 16th uprising, right? And you are an overwhelmingly youngish audience. And in how you understand society and innovation, it's also important, we think, that you understand society in its totality, so that you understand the impact of the things that you do and you dream about, how they impact other aspects of society, because society is an ecosystem. And this is really what we are trying to help us understand through this presentation. Now, as you know, when you are often told about the June 16 uprising, in the manner in which that it continues to be presented, it is presented to you more from the perspective of it being a political event, right? So yes, a lot of it is political because it came as a result of political circumstances, right? But the other thing that is also important to understand is that we can also look at the June 16 uprising as an act of youth social innovation. And what do I mean by that? I mean an act where young people came together and decided on the kind of society or reality that they want, which was over and above the type of education or the medium of instruction, but also the kind of society that they want, right? Now, that involves what is called social innovation, where as a social innovator or youth leader, you concern yourselves with systems, structures in society, how they function and how they impact society. But eventually, what kind of outcome do those systems and processes produce, right? So you don't just concern yourselves. You would remember we had Fees Must Fall, right? So Fees Must Fall was not just about what you get taught, but it was also about what you get taught and what its impact is on you, but also in society. So that's why it was not just about what was happening within the confines of academic institutions. And that is what the theory of social innovation tries to help us understand, that things are actually interdependent, things are interconnected. And this is what we are trying to help us understand here. So what I will do in this brief presentation, I will look at the lessons we can draw from the generation, right, of the 1976 uprising, and I would look at 5, but I think there are many that we can draw. I would look at 5, and I would wish to share that 5 with you, with the hope that those of you who are interested in social innovation, right, which means over and above producing green technologies, right, and a number of environmentally friendly stuff, but you are also interested in how what you do from a technological point of view impacts society, but also what kind of communities and societies do we live in, right? So this presentation is really geared towards those of you who have that interest. So before I go into the actual 5 points, I want you to have at the back of your mind, right, something that happened recently that's very tragic, that concerns our young people, where about 21 of our young people perished at a place where you would not wish as a parent, right, for your child to be there, especially given the fact that the great majority of them, those young people who perished there, are under the age of 18, from the reports that we are getting. Now, this is what I was thinking about when I was preparing this presentation, that if you link that to what happened in 1976, right, one of the young people who lost his life in 1976, Zolile Hector Peterson, who I'm sure many of you are familiar with, right, was 12 years old, right? And he died because there was this uprising, there was this political protest. Now, in 2022, June, a young person by the same age, right, dies at a tavern. Same age, dies at a tavern. Now, those of you, and one of the previous speakers said, the future belongs to you, right? Those are the things that as you do your innovation, your tech entrepreneurship, as you do your businesses, as you do your research, as you do your academic studies, those of you who don't intend to leave this country and go and sit anywhere else should concern themselves with those types of things and how they impact and how they intersect. So the first lesson I think we can draw from that generation, right, is the importance of possessing what I call a sense of history. So what I simply mean by a sense of history is that for you to have an understanding and an appreciation of the history of the community, society, or the country that you live in. Understand and appreciate the history of your society and community. And this is one of the things, if you think about one of the primary leaders of this June 16 uprising, Tsietsi Mashinini, right? If you just follow Tsietsi Mashinini's life, one of the things that I found fascinating in the little investigation that I did, he led what was actually a national uprising when he was in his 20s, right? But here's the other thing. In addition to being a student leader, he was the president of what was called the SSRC, the Soweto Student Representative Council. Tsietsi Mashinini was also a ballroom dancer. He was a karateka. And he was also involved in the debate society in his school, right? So what is my point? My point is you also see in the example of people like Tsietsi Mashinini that at an early age, they had an understanding of what I spoke about, how different variables in society intersect. But also that as an individual, you are never just one thing, right? And this is also perhaps one of the interesting things. If you study, for instance, the development of countries like that I usually follow, Japan, China, and Singapore, right? Now, many of us, these gadgets that we are using here, I'm using a Samsung, right? It's not a South African product, obviously. Now, many of these countries, China, Singapore, Japan, etc., that I and some of you study as models of innovation and development, if you look at them, their development as those countries did not just happen because they invested a lot in education, especially technical and scientific education, but also because as part of their development, they never disregarded their history as countries, right? And this is why you see, for instance, they are able to do high-level mathematics, engineering in their own languages. I'm sure many of you are aware of that, right? That if you have seen, there was a clip I saw of primary school children in Japan who were using iPads. Who were using iPads, right? But you see, the iPads were programmed in their language. And that teaches us something as people on the African continent that for a country to develop, it does not necessarily have to westernize in order for it to develop, because the strength of countries like China, Singapore, Japan, and even Germany is in the fact that they have not discarded their cultural identity, especially their languages in that. So often when you get told about innovation, right, one of the things that I find is also the superiority that languages like English assume in people's ability to do things in society, right? That your ability to speak a particular language is not necessarily a reflection of your intellect. And this is one of the things we need to learn as people on the African continent, that your intelligence cannot be reflected in you mastering a particular language. Right? So we must also decolonize ourselves from judging people on the basis of whether or not they can speak a particular language, and then we think, wow, this is a genius or whatever. You know, objectively speaking, we know it's not true. The second factor is to have a compelling vision for society. By this, I mean a well thought out and coherent set of ideas of the kind of society that you want to live in, or the kind of society that you want your children or grandchildren to live in. Right? So a compelling vision means not just thinking about the things that you would like, but it also, compelling vision means also thinking about what would be in the best interest of everybody that I live with. So sometimes you hear people say, I've got a vision, but when you analyze and break it down, it's actually not a vision, it's a self-serving strategy for you to survive as an individual. So a compelling vision is that which concerns itself with the broader interest and not the individual interest. And that's one of the things. But also, your capacity to articulate a compelling vision also depends on whether or not you have the intellectual courage to imagine a different reality. What do I mean? Fear is one of the biggest obstacles in a lot of people realizing their dreams. So sometimes it's not that you don't lack it's not that you lack ideas rather, or the know-how, but it's that you have been paralyzed by your own fear to do the most basic, simple things that you may be capable of, but you do not have the self-confidence and the self-belief to believe that you are able actually to do it. So while you may have a brilliant idea, the courage to stand where I and other people are standing and articulate that idea does not come easily. And this is why it is important that in the work that we do from the perspective of social innovation, we also imbue our young people with what is called intellectual courage. Now, for the people who are especially in school, whether you're in university or in high school, one of the things that you must stop doing is that when any of your classmates in a lecture hall or in school, right, stands in front of you to present or say something, and then you make all sorts of signs and noises which eat away their self-confidence. You must not do that. We must have a culture, and we must teach our young people this, where if anybody tries to do something in a group space or anywhere in society, we should have a culture of lifting that person up in the best possible way. Because with self-confidence, half of your battle is won. The third factor is to have a leadership core in society that is values-driven. By this, I mean a select group of high-caliber, ethically grounded individuals who take upon themselves the responsibility to lead the project of change. High-caliber, ethically grounded. What is implied in what I just said is that the function of leadership, and I'm not saying the position or the title, the function of leadership in society is a function for a selected few. A lot of people can be given titles and positions, but not everybody in society is called to lead. Right? I don't know if you can hear me. Should not be afraid to give me feedback. Remember, I'm saying we are having an exchange. I'm not addressing you. So it's not like in other spaces where there's this one person who talks and you only respond and say amen. Not here. Right? So when they do that, their main responsibility also, this high caliber, ethically grounded people, is that they concern themselves with moving society, right, from one level of development to another. So they are not just there, to be in the position or to hold the title. Every day, the one thing that keeps them awake at night is, how do I help society move from one level of development to another, right? And they want that to be their legacy. And it gives them sleepless nights. So that is why I'm saying not everybody is called to lead, because that's one of the distinguishing features, right? So, but people that I described, right, are also brought together and held together by a set of fundamental values. Human relationships are essentially regulated, whether it's boyfriend and girlfriend, mother and father, father and son, father and daughter. teacher and student or lecturer and whatever, your relationship, social intercourse with one person to the other is guided by your value system. Things like respect, love, compassion, selflessness, right? So you are, in a majority of cases, you are drawn to people who share the same value systems as you. And in helping our young people make decisions, not just about their academic future, it is important that we empower them with a solid value system and a solid value structure. The things that were said by the presentation that we got from the MRC about tobacco and other things, right? I am confident that if those of us who are classified as parents in society, if we do the best we can in terms of developing proper values for our children, we will not have to worry about whether or not they will take the right decisions when they meet alcohol or any other thing when we are not there. Because the important thing about empowering a person is that you must measure their capacity to make the right decisions when you are not there, when nobody's looking, not in front of you. Right? That's how important the correct values are. The fourth factor is to have a sense of service and duty to society. People who are driven by a deep sense of service and duty to society are not concerned with being popular, being liked, or personal benefit. People who are driven by a deep sense of service and duty to society are not concerned with being popular, being liked, or personal benefit, because they have a sense of duty and service to society. Another way of putting this is that people who have a sense of service and duty, right, always recognize that they live for something that's much bigger than themselves. That's their perspective. Their preoccupation is how best I can serve my people, my country, or my community. People who are imbued with a sense of service and duty are more interested in social impact as opposed to who takes credit or who gets the limelight. Am I making an impact? Am I making a difference? They are not worried about, am I getting the credit or am I getting the limelight? Because they have a sense of service and duty. The last and fifth factor is to understand that for a nation or a country to move from one stage of development or the other, there must be a generation within that nation or country that is prepared to make a particular set of sacrifices, right? So all of you who have read about how development happens in countries, right? Whether you take the US, you take Singapore, China, you take Germany, whatever country you want to use as a benchmark for development, if you just look at the industrial or technological development, you are not going to get the full story of how that country got there, right? One of the essential ingredients in those countries that I've mentioned is that there was a generation of leaders, right, and not just political leaders, but leaders across society, who decided that for our country, we are going to make the following sacrifices. And these sacrifices, we are going to make them because we are not worried about ourselves. We are worried, like Usisi who spoke before me, about the next generation, right? So if you think of development and the summary of all the beautiful work that you will be exposed to in the exhibitions, all of that work, right, can only take us that far. What is critical is that you need to have a section of our society that is prepared to make some level of sacrifices. Now, just before I conclude, and we will perhaps exchange this, I want to recommend for you, and I could tell that you were very receptive when some of the information was shared that you would like to learn. I want to recommend to you that you use your data wisely during this period. And if you have not, that you go and look up the stories of a country called Singapore, right? And specifically look at the founding leader or founding prime minister of Singapore, Lee Kuan Yew, right? to understand, I'm sure you're aware that Singapore, if not the best, they have got the best, if not the best education system in the world is Singapore. But to understand how they got there, you also need to understand the story of their founding leader, Lee Kuan Yew, right? And it will give you the sense and it will crystallize to you some of the things I've said here. And the other recommendation I want to make to you is to also go and look up, I will share the detail with you, two other individuals. The other one is Professor Kisho Mabubani, also from Singapore. Professor Kisho Mabubani specializes, amongst others, in helping people who are not from Singapore understand how Singapore became what it is. And what is interesting, Professor Kisho Mabubani uses his own life, where he explains something that just blew me away, my brother, you know, where he explains that when he grew up, he's in his 70s now, Singapore was a third world country, right? Today, Singapore is classified as a first world country. Whether or not you agree with the classification is another thing. But he's explaining that it happened in his lifetime, in the lifetime of an individual. And he also explains the sacrifices he made, not having shoes and what. But today, when you Google the name Professor Kisho Mabubani, you see the work that he has done. I will also make the last recommendation is, you always hear about China this, but there's a gentleman called Professor Zhing Weiwei, Z-H-I, who explains to people who are interested in knowing how China became the industrial or tech giant that it is today. And one of the interesting things he reveals is that China took from, you know, one of their great philosophers, Confucius, took from the great philosophies of Confucius and fused that in their industrial outlook. And that explains their work ethic and and all of those things. But those things require you to study them so that you understand what we can learn from them. Before I sit down, the question I want to leave us with is, given the myriad of development challenges that we have as a country and that many of you know very well, what sacrifices are the youth leaders and youth innovators that are gathered in this room prepared to make to get our country to a higher level of development? Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you so much. That was Velimbele from Mutapa, Afrocentric Dialogues. Thank you for challenging us. We're now moving on to our panel discussion. Is Mr. Manyatsa from IDC here? Are you here, sir? Please, can you join us at the front? Can we give him a round of applause? Dumello from SANAS, are you here? Dumello is here. Please, can you join us in the front, my brother? Can we give him a round of applause? And then Ms. Mpo Ngosi from Yes for Youth. Are you here? You want to clap for her in absence? Oh, she's not here. And then, obviously, the one and only Billy is here. Billy from the Innovation Hub. Please, can we give him a round of applause? Can we please get them mics? Can we please get the mics? All right, gentlemen, we don't have much time. Please, can we just shoot and hit straight for the point? Just quickly who you are, what you do, and some of the opportunities that are available for young people in the sector that you're in, especially in the green economy. No, Bill, we're not starting with you. You're last. You. We'll start with the gentleman on my far right.
Right. Thank you so much, Program Director. My name is Manyaza Mguta. I'm from IDC, the Industrial Development Corporation. I will not assume that you know what Industrial Development Corporation is. So
Okay.
we are a state-owned company, which was formed in 1940. So IDC has been here for quite a while. So what we are mandated to do by government is to develop industries in South Africa. So that's what we do. We finance businesses. We are first and foremost a financial institution. Obviously, because we are a developmental financial institution, we are much concerned about development of industries, but also of people, specifically black-owned businesses, businesses which are managed and owned by young people, women, people with disabilities. So that is very important for the corporation. But let me just say that we fund across many industries. I will mention a few and then maybe talk about the one that will affect some of you here. And before I say that, I must say that I'm very encouraged by the level of entrepreneurship among young people that I've met today and yesterday. I've been here. So I'm very encouraged, and I can say that our future is really secure. So now, what IDC does, we fund in mining, in agro processing, in chemicals, in clothing and textile. I saw a whole lot of guys who are doing clothing and textile, in media, tourism, manufacturing, energy, machinery and equipment, and electronics. Those are the sectors that we fund. So we do not fund any other business. So we are very specific, and we follow the mandate of government in terms of industrial development. So that must be clear. So I think so. What I want to talk about now is that these are very difficult industries for young people. So what IDC did specifically is to employ people like myself to ensure that we advocate for young people, to say, as we fund businesses, as we develop industries, we must ensure that we specifically look for young people who are in these sectors. So there's a fund which has been established within the IDC. It's called Grow Youth Fund. This fund is specifically to fund young people between the ages of 18 and 35. So this particular fund can fund businesses from 1 million rand up to 50 million rand in those sectors that I spoke about. And to bring it to you guys is that I saw a whole lot of people who are inventors and who are very creative and so on. The important thing is that we need to scale up and to commercialize those businesses. I mean, if you look at what the twins are doing, what Stu is doing, and a whole lot of other guys that I have met. So the important thing is, how do you move from that and industrialize, and because that's what we want to see. So I'm saying we are here. Don't worry about your product. As soon as your product has reached the commercialization step, you can approach industrial development corporation. We will be able to assist you, to provide you with funding at a very concessional rate. As I said, we are very interested in development. So we do not, in any case, just give you a loan which is expensive and so on. And we know that you guys are young people. And then the other thing is that you would want to go into business, but you don't have equity, you don't have assets, and a whole lot of things like that. So we are much open to try and assist young people to get into business. As I said, very concessionary rates, very soft conditions to ensure that young people benefit. So let me not talk too much. Maybe program director, you will direct me. If there are questions, we will take them. But that's who we are. And as I said, we in, for this conference, we find in clean economy, you can see our countries in crisis in terms of electricity. So we want those innovative ideas on how we can actually get out of this mess. So that's what industrial development does. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Timothy Timo. I'm from South African National Accreditation System. South African National Accreditation System, as what we provide is to protect the public from environment, health and safety through ensuring that there are test facilities that conduct the tests that need to be conducted for protection. As Sister Kiboni, based on the BRICS area, said that we accredit.
They're struggling to.
Sorry for that. Yeah, stable on that. I was saying from South African National Accreditation System, we accredit test facilities and inspection bodies.
Yeah, no, but
Inspection bodies to actually ensure that the product that we get in the market will meet certain standard of regulation and performance on that. As indicated, our system bodies of the bricks. If the bricks does not meet certain element for performance, it will not be accepted in Europe, especially.
Dumza, I think they're struggling to hear you again. Is it the mic or is it?
Mic is closer, yeah. It's there. Yeah. So, as was on that basis that we provide facility that will then give facilities that will test in the equally so even farming. When our sister earlier was talking about the development of plant, we accredit facilities that will test the pesticide, fertilizers, and residue in that to make sure that the food has safety in that. And facilities that processes food, they need to comply to certain measures of food safety management system and heavy metal content. So it is broader terms in that. Maybe to bring it close to home with that is when we go to shop to buy 1 kg of meat, we provide a system that will ensure that you actually get 1 kg of meat, not less than that, because it will be ridiculous. Coming to the green area, we provide accreditation of what we call measurement and verification. Inspectors where they have quantification. I believe my colleague was here yesterday to elaborate on that. I will go into detail with them. And furthermore, in a building like this, we've got what is called an energy performance. There we need engineers that will be able to quantify the consumption of energy from this particular building in terms of how it is used based on electricity, air conditioning, and any other major energy utilization of this, so that we can be able to say are we running efficiently. And that's where the opportunity comes from an engineering perspective. From the development side, it will be the product that will assist in ensuring the insulation of the building. Because one, where those, in South Africa, when you walk in a particular building, you can feel the coldness. But Europe, because they provide product that can assist with insulation and innovation as far as a particular product are concerned, is that we create opportunities there. And from my entity, Sanas, in supporting for a small medium enterprise, we are very passionate about ensuring that the small medium enterprise comes in, and equally so the transformation of the pool itself. And we have run a couple of projects in order to ensure that we include small medium enterprise to participate in the space. That we have brought a couple of young engineers with some experience within the energy quantification management and evaluation for it to be implemented. But I must say, like my brother here, we don't have deep pockets, but with the little that we have, we try to patch hard, and we really do that. I will end that point for now. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, colleagues. I think when I spoke yesterday, categories where you could find, finance for your innovations. And, the first one being venture capitalism or angel investors. So these are your types like your Vusi Tembekwayos, your Lebo Konguluzas, and everyone in that space that you can go and pitch your ideas, and they would probably want some equity, in your business. There's a lot of angel investors and, venture capitalism that not just the ones that we see on TV that you can talk to, and they tend to be very, I don't want to say shrewd, yeah, when it comes to negotiation of those percentages and what they're going to take into your business. And maybe if you go on Google and just check each one of these categories, familiarize with yourself with the requirements, so that you know exactly when you are investment ready which one to go to. Right. The next one is what my colleague from the IDC talked about. That's what we call Development Finance Institutes, or DFIs. So you've got the IDC, you've got SIFA, Small Enterprise Finance Agency. Also, if you Google that, you will see quite a few of those, and you can also look at what the requirements are, and where you are at the stage of development is also quite important, because some of them, would want you at a certain phase, and some would start you quite early on, after you're just starting out. But very few of them would want to start right at ideation phase, right? The next one is government finance. So this is your CEDAs, your NYDAs, technology in innovation agencies. There's also government departments with DBSB. These would tend to mostly, so CEDAs in them would have an element of finance, but some of them would play in the space of vouchers and incentives. So especially the DTIC, Department of Trade and Industry and Competition, you would be able to get your incentives to maybe develop your prototypes and the likes. But there's also vouchers, which is non-financial support. But if you look at it, this is something that you would have had to pay for. So it does equate to some sort of a financial or monetary contribution. The next one, if you are a part of a university, for instance, you might want to go through a technology station. Through a technology station, they will help you, develop your technology. But they're the ones who are going to go out and look out for finance, but it links to government again. But that's another way of, getting your inventions funded until you get to a place where you can scale, where you can then talk to my brother over there and get some assistance. Another one is private sector funding. Here you're looking at things like corporate social investment, CSI. If, for instance, I'm just going to make an example of Kiriboni with the bricks, right? If you can look at some of the companies within the construction industry, your PPCs, AfriSam, I think, Lafarge, most of them would have what they call a corporate social investment. This is a commitment that the company puts to assist the community and to uplift the communities, right? But they also get tax rebates. So it's in their interest to assist, upcoming companies get to a certain point. So look at what is close, for example, look at the companies, the big corporates that are close to what you're working with, and look if they don't have some element of corporate social investment. For instance, Old Mutual has Masisizane, Anglo has Zimele, Kumba Iron who has Siox CBT. So that's the other thing. And then also under private sector funding, you could also look at fundraising through donations. Put out a letter, send it to them, you've got nothing to lose, okay? 50-50, you can win, you can lose. But just like the lotto, you've got 1 in a million chances of winning the lotto, but if you don't play, you don't have a chance. The last one is what we call special vehicles. Certain companies set up these special vehicles, non-profit organizations, non-profit companies and cooperatives that is linked to the company. it's a very tricky model. I don't know how it works, but I know this is how sometimes companies can raise funds and link their core activities to these special vehicles, and it's mostly, aimed at looking at government. I hope you are taking notes and you will do a bit of homework just to understand what goes under each category.
Fantastic, thank you. Can we give them a round of applause? Just the last question. I know we have a lot of young people in the building who they've got these ideas, but many of us come from backgrounds where we're not taught how to run a business. Then later on, we go looking for funding. Then we get told your financials. Now they're looking at our business account. But it's my business, so I can use my account for what I want to do. Only to find out that's one thing that's disqualifying you. In your experience of entrepreneurs who've come and look for funding, what are some of the mistakes, common mistakes that you see young entrepreneurs making that disqualify them from getting the funding?
All right, thank you.
And then just, sorry, after you answer that, just please share your website as we wrap up the discussion on how they can get more information. Thank you.
Yeah, I think particularly young people make a whole lot of mistakes when they apply for finance, when they approach organizations like IDC, like CIF, and so on. Remember, we are investors and we receive a whole lot of applications from different people. We have to make choices whether we fund this one or this one. So the person with the most compelling business argument is the one that will get funding, as opposed to somebody who doesn't. So as you are saying, my brother, we as young people, we need to put our ideas in writing. Let's write out the business plans, and we have guidelines. In fact, I like the guidelines because you just answer questions as they appear in the guidelines. You will see them in our website. We have guidelines to the business plan. And then the other thing is that if you have started a business, which is what we encourage, that start where you are. I mean, I've seen young people here starting from completely nothing. So if you have started, keep proper account of what you are doing, and ensure that you have a bank account and you at least have you can account for your money, even if it's not formal. But say, here's my bank account. This is what my turnover. This is my cost of sales and those things. Because what you cannot do is to run a business from your personal account and do those things, because you won't have history. And when we want to fund you, we would want to see what have you done and whether you are running a business. Remember, if we invest, we want a return. And that return can be either financial, it can be developmental for organizations like us. So, but we want to know that you will be able to make money out of that business. And I want to say that obviously you are not in business to just help people build houses, so you want to make money. So, and that's what we want to see, and that's how we develop countries. So, my brother, most of the common mistakes is that you do not do your market research properly, you do not keep records, you are not, because as they say, you must know your battleground better than your enemy, so that you succeed. If you know your battleground better than your enemy, you will definitely succeed. So those are some of the things that young people should look at. And in terms of our website, www.idc.co.za, that's where you will find all the information. My personal email address is manyata@idc.co.za. You can drop me an email, then we can then discuss and see how best we help you to navigate, because that's what I do, to try and help young people to navigate the very complex application process, because IDC, as you understand, it's an industrial development corporation. So we fund big projects, and so we really want to get your house in order so that you get funding. So if you can drop me an email, then I can help you to walk that journey in the application process of the corporation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, on the same question.
Yeah, I think on the same question, for the small, medium enterprises or entrepreneurial, the challenge is always access to money, one of the top, access to the market, and then we come up with the product that meet the needs of the consumers in order for you to sell. And from our side, as the South African National Accreditation System, providing the infrastructure to ensure that standard and technical regulation that goes into the design to make sure that the product is environmentally friendly, it is safe, and it performs as expected based on the initial design concept. That we provide the structure that will assist with it. And we do have a memorandum of understanding with the small medium enterprise SEDA to assist in the areas that are within the conformity assessment, because the conformity assessment with regard to standard technical regulation, testing, inspection, and certification, they can also be one of the bottleneck that suffocate the development of innovative ideas that come from the entrepreneurs. Furthermore, in identifying opportunities to that, we should not be concentrating on popular or fashionable thing. For example, if we to look now on the trending things of influencers, everyone is making gin, everyone is want to sell the techies because Drip is making it. They haven't done and understand the market or identify opportunity or the need that they can fulfill and build their business based on that. Those are the things that my brother was saying there. Because if those are not clear, you will struggle with the market because you are not solving any problem. And all product that we have consume or use are solving a particular problem. And to understand that, you need to have interaction, the social entrepreneurship, technology, any other space where you are solving a problem. If you're not solving a problem, is now you want to blackmail those that you want to know, that you know within your circle that I'm selling this, you must buy. That is not a business. It's a social courtesy, to assist your business. You must identify a need and solve the problem. And then the formalities will come. The product will then be able to move from that particular perspective. Thank you. Our website, it will be on SANAS, and I think the detail will be shared with our marketing and communication to be able to filter the emails and direct them to the right people in there. But our website is www.sanas.co.za, and you'll get all our details there. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I think from my side, I just want to touch on what Liboni presented about. One of the inescapable parts in the journey of a tech entrepreneur is pitching. You will pitch and pitch and pitch until you're blue in the face. Writing a business plan is part of pitching, right? Whoever you talk to about your business, you don't have to be standing with a mic, you are pitching. I just want to give you 4 important things that you must make it a point, even if you're given 2 minutes to talk, you include and you have a good grasp of. What is the novelty of the idea? What is new about it, right? What is the developmental impact? For instance, if you go to the IDC and other government institutions that, filter government money, they need to understand what is the ROI, what is the return on the investment. And job creation, social impact, and all economic impact, those are very important. Have a good grasp of those, right? Thirdly, who is your market? Understand the market and also be able to understand, what is the opposite, who's your competition and what is your competitive advantage. Most importantly, have a good grasp of your finances. You don't have to be a financial accountant or anything like that, but understand that I make 100 rands a day. I spend 60 rands on inputs and overhead are very important whenever you're pitching, and that's how you're going to be able to attract opportunities. Our website is www.theinnovationhub.com, and if you go onto our website, you'll see all the different programs that we run. The one that is specific to green economy is called the Climate Innovation Center South Africa. If you click there, you will find the email, and you should be able to get to send an email and send any inquiries you may have. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Can we put our hands together for our panel? Mr. Manyata from the IDC, Mr. Tumelo from SANAS, and Mr. Billy from the Innovation Hub. One more time, a round of applause for our panel. Thank you so much. All right, next up we have UFarm Innovation, exploring agri-tech innovation in South Africa. That's what Mr. Peter Sondas will be speaking about. He's with us in the building. Please, can we put our hands together for Mr. Peter? Am I saying it right? Peter Sondas, yeah. Okay, thank you. I don't know, is it Peter or Kipita or both? Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Hi to all the students that I've been visiting on Monday and Wednesday. Sorry for the guys that I missed on Tuesday in Hammanskraal. You guys missed out, but at least you're going to see part of it today. Thanks for being here. Right, guys, I'm very quickly going to talk to you about an app and a monitoring module that we've developed. Now, you guys had a person talking earlier today regarding farming and a farming app. Now, there's ways and means to do this. And what I think makes us unique is the fact that we are 3 directors that decided we wanted to do something for previously disadvantaged communities and previously disadvantaged youth. And youth in itself, because they are eventually going to be the people that are running South Africa. And if we can teach a person to fish, it's much better than just giving them fish. So one of our main points was that we wanted to keep the app free. So you'll see at the end of the presentation, the 3 directors made a pact with each other that doesn't matter what, the app will be free and will stay free for all eternity for any previously disadvantaged farmer and any youth that wants to become financially independent. Guys, please excuse me, I condensed a 45-minute slideshow down to 15 minutes, so I'm really going to run through it. If anybody wants to talk to me afterwards about it, please find me. I can run the whole thing through with you. It's some incredible stuff. Right, so we were looking at small-scale broiler farming and how to make that more financially viable. Now, there was a study in 2017 which asked, is there space for small-scale broiler farmers in the commercial value chain? Now, the value chain in broiler farming is split into 2 separate chains. You've got 30%, which is the small farmers, basically doing anything from about 100, you can go to the next, from about 100 broiler chicks up to 12,000. Now, you'll see if you have a look at that first block, that is the small farmers, and then this huge pitch on the far right-hand side, that is the industrial, the commercial farmers, or people that are farming for them. Now, currently in South Africa, 90% of people are eating white meat 5 to 6 times a week. All right, so chicken is the new meat. All right, everybody is eating chicken. The commercial farmers in 2017 were actually farming close to 80 million broiler chicks a month. Right. The small and medium guys, 30% of that. Right. So there's a huge, huge market. The change of the market is actually the fact that Sorry, just waiting for that to update. You can go on to the next one. Right, so why is it the right thing to do for upcoming farmers and for the youth? If you look at the far left-hand side, that basically shows small-scale live broiler farmers and what the profit versus the input is. On the right-hand side is the commercial farmers. So, guys, literally, a farmer with an input of 30 Rand per chicken can make 25 to 30 Rands profit per chicken if he does it correctly. And this is where the problem comes in, how to do it correctly. Now, the app that we wrote is specifically there. It teaches you or it guides you on how to do it. I can literally take this broiler app, put it in the hands of somebody that has never farmed broiler chickens before. Not a maybe, they will make a success of it. I'm going to go into my time a little bit. I want to tell you a story about a gentleman, John, in Winterveld. Before we get to this one, we're going to talk to about Winterveld and this as well. John in Winterveld was part of a cooperative farming where government information that conflicts with the farmer. So the information is concise, it's the same, it basically works together. Right, so what the app consists of is a calendar, step-by-step daily guide regarding feed quantities, the hours of light, vaccinations, and the number of feeders. There's always a screen just showing what it is. It also helps with the financial management and record keeping side of your business. It also has artificial intelligence where you can basically take a photo of your invoice and it's stored on the cloud so that you have it available once you need to go and query something. It's available immediately because all of us misplace our invoices. There's also a disease guide because this is one of the major things. These farmers don't always have access to veterinarians. So we need to filter some of the less important things and get them to the vets for the more important things. So it even has a disease guide based on the language that these farmers use. It has a section for constant training material and videos, and even real-life cases during consultations, so that everybody can learn from that. There's a link to broiler news where you can directly link to Farmers Weekly and Food for Mzansi. And then also at the bottom, sorry, that's just part of the videos. Also at the bottom, there's a WhatsApp link that allows you, if you click on that WhatsApp link, you can literally talk to the developer of this app, myself, directly. So any suggestions that you have, anything else that you need to bring to my attention, you have me immediately available. One of the most important things to the large retail buyers is biosecurity. We've spoken to Spar, we've spoken to ShopRite, Checkers, all of these guys. They want to buy from the small-scale farmers. They want to. They really want to. It's good for their PR. It's good for everything else. But they're worried about biosecurity. What happens if a chicken is sick and I feed it to one of my clients? So this even has a biosecurity plan built in. It will give you a progress on your biosecurity plan. So it tells you how to clean your chicken coop, and you have a place where you need to answer, yes, you are doing it, no, you're not doing it, or you're not there yet. It shows you progress as you carry on in a percentage, and it even gives you goals to reach. Now, I've got veterinarians that are prepared to give you their stamp of approval for larger businesses if you can prove that you've done this 100% biosecurity. Right, so it will even open up the fact that you can then buy to large or sell to large retailers. Monitoring module, like I've said before, it monitors 3 factors: CO2, ammonium, temperature, humidity. It's a standalone app that is basically, it gives you a readout like the bottom readout there. It's a speedometer type readout. Now, this we suggest to farmers that farm 500 or more chickens. We suggest that animal health technicians or vets that are dealing with the smaller farmers, they need to get one of these so that they can help the farmers that are farming 100 to 500 to help them to get their things right. But this actually only becomes financially viable once you are farming 500 or more chickens. You literally put the little box down and the box monitors all of those things. The box is there behind, so you guys will see how the dials actually change. Very simple concept. If it's in the white, it's still fine. If it goes into red, then you are in trouble. 4 things that you need to monitor. As long as you keep them in place, you will be a farmer. You will not lose too many chickens. Well, we're almost there. This app is truly a one-stop shop for farmers. Access to multiple points, from suppliers to new clients and everything in between. It's user-friendly. Right, it's on your smartphone. It's done in a way that any farmer can understand. This app will allow a person who has never farmed broilers to make a success of their broiler business as long as they follow the daily suggestions that's on the app. How much will the app cost? Like I said before, the app will be no cost and stay no cost for all previously disadvantaged farmers and youth who want to go into broiler farming as a means of achieving financial independence. The module will be made available at a reduced cost to interested parties through the app shop. So the app has a shop as well where you can actually buy feeds at reduced costs. We're busy talking about that with the suppliers as well. So we are continuously refining the app and adding functionality to it, but are constrained by the amount of free time we have. The process would be sped up if we had additional funding, but even without that additional funding, we will continue building on this app. We don't have to have funding to do this. We want to do this for the youth, for the previously disadvantaged farmers. It will just take longer. Right, I think on the last, my contact details, guys, take that if you want to talk to me. If you don't find me afterwards, I'm going to be here until after lunch. But if you have any questions, come talk to me. Please, I've got a wealth of information that I can share. I just don't have the time to do it now. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, please let's put our hands together one more time for Peter from Agri-Tech Innovation in South Africa. Talk about innovation. Next up, we have Mr. Mashudu from the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition to speak about SMME opportunities. Please let's put our hands together for Mr. Mashudu. We just have two more presentations before we go for lunch. Sir, over to you. Would you like? Which one would you like to use? Okay, cool. Sure. Just check.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's been a long day, but I believe it's worth to be here. So as has been introduced, my name is Mashudu Nechiswinja. I'm from the DTIC. I'm here to share with you some of the opportunities that are there within the SME. I believe here we've got a lot of entrepreneur innovators, and most of this information will also assist you in terms of getting those ideas that we have into the market. So just by introduction, for those who might sorry, as they're busy doing with the loading the presentation, yeah. I'm not too sure if maybe within the room, by the show of hands, how many innovators do we have here in the room? Innovators. Somebody got an idea to say, yes, I can solve this problem. Okay. An entrepreneur, because it can be an innovator, but not necessarily an entrepreneur, it can be an entrepreneur. Yeah. How many entrepreneurs? Okay, cool. So I'm assuming that by the end of this session, we will be getting a lot of contact from you guys saying how can we get support from the DTIC. Yeah. Apology, I'm sure they're just loading it. You should be having it in. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, just by introduction for everyone who's in the room, just to understand what the DTIC, trade industry and competition, what do we do? So basically our mandate is there. We want to create a global competitive South African economy characterized by meaningful economic transformation, inclusive growth and development, decent employment, equity, and build on the full potential of all citizens. And for that to happen, it requires a lot of stakeholders and some of the stakeholders in this room, so that how best can we do to achieve that mandate. And within the DTIC, we've got different divisions and units that are ideal to achieve this. So I come from a unit called Innovation and Technology, And within that unit, we purely deal with supporting new ideas. And you'll understand there have been a lot of speakers talking here since this morning about being South Africa, we are the consumer of foreign technologies. And at the same time, we've been struggling to have our own stuff. So as a government, for us to compete, we need to develop new technologies that we can commercialize and make money. So this is just an illustration of what we do within the unit. We develop policy, we also implement, and these policies that we're developing and programs, we want to support technology development until commercialization phase. You can develop a technology, but if it's not in the market, it's not making any value. So the first phase to say you've got an idea, but it doesn't help you to sit in your mind if you're not going to translate to a product. So we need to come and develop, you need to go through all the processes through the government support that we have that can help you to translate that idea so that it can become a commercial viable product. Second slide. So oftentimes when we do this presentation with different stakeholders, we get to ask what's innovation? And I'm sure we all can define it differently based on our understanding of what's innovation. But for the purpose of this presentation, also within the DTIC, we look into innovation, we define in this context, we are looking for a new or unique product or process that might be incremental or novel. This is something that may sound easy or difficult, but I would also want to also take it back to the last speaker on the panel who mentioned that there's a lot of people who come in innovation, say, there's a new drip, because drip is doing it, I also want to come with a sneaker. What are you solving? What's new on that sneaker? Is it health-wise? Or is it just a normal sneaker? So you are not solving any particular problem. But for you to be able to have something innovation, there must be a specific problem that you are trying to address. And that solution that you're offering must be unique. There could be a lot of problems that are there in solution, but you must stipulate or specific, identify and show that your solution is different from A, B, C, D. That's when we say that's innovation. And for us to consider your innovation, the functionality of the product or services must be unique or advanced. It doesn't help for you to come up with a device or a cell phone saying, this is innovative, but still the same in terms of the energy consumption from the battery. So there's clearly nothing. So only the time, for instance, where you can say, I've developed a new device, let's say it's a mobile cell phone, and the consumption of my battery can last for about a month. We haven't had that, but we're still waiting as a country to have such kind of innovation. And it's a market we're not addressing. We need to start looking into this area so that you can capture this unique market that we're not solving. Secondly, it must be efficient in terms of its use. That's how, when we can define this innovation, low cost in terms of the production and everything, you must not be incurring a lot of costs when you're doing that, so that we can say it qualifies as an innovation. And also, it must be substantial improvement of the original process. There's a lot of open innovation that are lying within the country, and this is precisely because when patent has expired, that last pen, it became open. You can go there and exploit it and do whatever that you want. But then, what we're also saying, it mustn't end there. You can go there and do reverse engineering. Clearly articulate what have you improved in this thing. It must not be innovation if it's still the same. We won't qualify it from our side and we won't be able to support. And is that case where you say, I went to the DTIC, they're not supporting me? It's because you're not taking all those ticks that are there. So it's very important that we go with the thing and understand what's innovation so that we can be able to do it. As the DTIC, these are some of the key things that we're trying to address within the country. And part of our policies that we're and programs that we're developing, we want to address these things. First of all, one of the challenges that we find is that there's a lot of innovators that remain nameless or faceless, simply because they don't know what to do, what's the step, or they're not getting enough information, or they don't even know how to develop the thing. So we are saying in our interaction using seminars of this nature, we found that there's a lot of innovators in South Africa, but the challenge is that they are not being offered an opportunity or resources that will help them to bring those innovations to the market. My other slide shows that if you've got an idea in the mind, but if you're not going to translate it to a product service, it doesn't help. just going to remain as innovation is there. And the next thing you're going to talk to one of your friends and they run with it, and then it's no longer yours if you can't quantify and show that I've documented the thing. But whatever the one who takes the market, they own it, it's theirs. And the second part, lack of understanding on technology commercialization. It might sound very easy, it's very difficult part. When you have developed this technology, how do you successfully take it to the market? A lot of times there is regulation, there is challenges, it need to meet the market standard, and those are commercialization processes. You need to do small scaling, resources are there, business enterprise is there that you need to be incubated to have a business acumen so that you can be able to have an understanding of the business. But if you're not given those resources, you won't be able to know how to commercialize the technology. And also, the third part is there's a low conversion of rate of ideas into commercial viable goods and services. I've touched on this one earlier on to say we've got a lot of innovation that is not getting an opportunity, and simply because we don't get this information. And as the DTIC, we're trying to address this thing through the instrument and product and service that we have within. And the other part, the last part, is high unemployment rate, especially among previously disadvantaged, the youth. As a DTIC, what we are trying to do is to say, we want to create a lot of entrepreneurs in this room. Once those entrepreneurs have fully flourished in the market, they'll be able to create more jobs. It's about us creating a conducive environment. And that conducive environment, it means that our policies, our programs must be able to support you so that we can deal with this big elephant of unemployment. As a youth, we encourage you to become innovators or entrepreneurs so that you can become the players in the market. Next slide. So within the DTIC, we've got a lot of incentives, by the way, that support different types of businesses. But in our unit specifically, we've got 3 innovation instruments that are designed to support technology development and commercialization. The first one is THRIP. SPI. Yeah, the first one is SPI. So, support program for industrial innovation. This program is designed to support technology development. If you have got that idea to say, South African currently now we are battling with energy supply. I can come up with an alternative solution, but then I need support. It's still in your mind, and there's a proof of concept that you've already drawn the device or how you're going to do this technology, how it will work. So it will help you to take that idea that you are thinking in that paper and translate it to a prototype. So that's what it basically do. It helps you to develop it. Either it's in the software or a product. If it's a software, it's an application, then you help you to develop the codes and everything so that it can become something that can be seen, can work, and run trial. And also, we support the issue of technical expertise. You must have the know-how in terms of developing this whole process. You can't claim that you're an innovator if you can't illustrate to us what you're trying to do. And within this program, support program for industrial innovation, we've got 2 schemes. The first one is the product process development scheme, and the second scheme is the matching scheme. I hope we are still together. I need to say this, most of the time when you talk about this innovation, terminology and everything, mostly audience get lost. And after they ask you a question where, what's innovation? And you try, you've been explaining that. So I would really ask me, I don't mind, if the program allows me, program director, just to have that interactive, so that, okay, my apology, I've just been alerted, I'm left as 5 minutes, but anyway, and I feel I'll be doing injustice on this presentation. So basically on SPI, this is the scope. We don't find pre-feasibility or research idea. If the idea you have not yet really is still in the mind and you can't really articulate it, we can't fund that. At least it must have a proof of concept or a blueprint for that development, just to show how you're gonna do the thing. That's where we're gonna start finding it. So spice play a particular role on the green part. The red wouldn't play a role, and the last part on this one for post-prototype wouldn't play a role. So our role is about prototype, tested, certified, and patent. That's the role we play. Under the PPD scheme, I will just quickly run through it. As I said, it promotes development of new product or processes, and our target is SME and individuals we are referring to, entrepreneurs, innovators that are here. And it's a grant funding, by the way. Our grants start from 50% to 85%. And for you to go beyond 50%, there are certain criteria that you need to meet. Some of them are either you have to be youth, also coming from a previously disadvantaged background, the issue of gender as part of transformation and giving an opportunity to all these previously disadvantaged. So these are the instruments that are also enforcing transformation. We also provide support for patenting at a cost of 20% of the whole approved amount. And then the maximum support is 2 million. You don't get that 2 million. It's a cost sharing grant. Depending on how much you're going to qualify on that 50 to 85%. Let's say you qualify for 50, you'll need to fork your 1 million, and the government, the DTIC will also support you on the 1 million. Second slide. So yeah, due the interest of time, I will want to let's pass this one. Yeah, because it's a matching scheme. Basically, what a matching scheme is that it gives you support for 5 million, the same as product development one, but this is also a cost sharing grant. And that 5 million also to be subject to the criteria I've mentioned. And for you to apply this instrument, you need to visit our website. Under the DTIC, go under to add financial assistance. You'll find the application forms, guidelines that will also help you to understand these programs. And then secondly is THRIP. THRIP is Technology and Human Resource for Industry program. This is one of the oldest programs that we have within the DTIC. And when we developed this program, okay, I'm being reminded all the time because of time, my apology. Yeah, but just to wrap it up is that it's a partnership between industry and then university or any science council. If you are an entrepreneur and then you've got this idea and you require a research capability, that can be done by either CSIR or ARC, then you can come to the DTIC and apply for the instrument. It's got a lot of things that are attached to this, and there's a lot of benefits. There's bursary component.